Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in a feeling of calm and relaxation, and as you exhale, just feel that tension is leaving your body, so that with each and every breath, you're able to go deeper and deeper into a resourceful feeling of relaxation, taking you deeper and deeper into a trance-like state. Now, trance doesn't have to mean that you lose your memory. It can just mean that you're focusing inward rather than outwards. So as you breathe in, notice how you feel as you breathe in, and notice how tension is slowly leaving your body as you breathe out, taking you deeper and deeper, relaxed now. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine being in the countryside. And I want you to see in this countryside is a hill, and on the top of the hill is a forest. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine what it would be like to slowly walk up the hill. I want you to notice how clean and fresh the air is, so that as you breathe in, you're breathing in a feeling of clarity. And when you exhale, you can feel that anything unnecessary is leaving your body. And that may be tension, stress, anxiety, or worries leaving your body in each outward breath. That's right. And continue to imagine walking up this hill. And as you walk up the hill, you notice that the vegetation gets more dense, turning from plants to bushes and bushes to trees. That's right. And you're still breathing in that fresh, clean air. Continue to imagine walking up this hill, and perhaps you can imagine incredible scenery around you. Maybe there are blue skies, maybe there are clouds, maybe you can feel the sunshine on your skin, but just get a sense that you are in the countryside and you feel relaxed. That's right. Continue to walk up the hill and notice that you enter the forest. And there is something about a forest that creates lots of sensory experiences. There is almost too many things to see when you're in a forest. You have the leaves of the trees. You have the trees themselves. You have plants, sometimes flowers, on the forest floor. That's right. You can pay attention to all these different things, and no matter how much you pay attention to, there will always be more to stimulate your senses. Because it's not just what you see, it's also what you hear. And you might hear a breeze going through the trees and the branches. You may hear the sound of leaves or sticks under your feet as you walk through the forest. You may hear birds or other sounds in the forest, but this is a safe forest. In the daytime, you feel very comfortable, relaxed, and safe in this forest at the top of a hill. That's right. And I want you to imagine that you are drifting off into a daydream. Because occasionally you've had the experience while walking of dreaming or daydreaming that you're somewhere else. And I want you to imagine that as you walk through the forest at the top of this hill in the countryside, you've got the ability to daydream about your life. And this could be different areas of your life. Because sometimes people make the goal of life overwhelmingly tough and challenging. And what if, instead of aiming to do everything and aiming to set huge goals, what if we plant the seed of an idea deep in your unconscious mind that the goal is not extraordinary things immediately? What if the goal is to improve ever so slightly things that are within your control? Continue to walk through the forest, smelling those smells, hearing those sounds, seeing those sights through the forest, as your brain starts thinking about what tiny progress would mean in your life. And you can think of a number, and that number could be incredibly small, and let's say that that number is 1% improvement. Now that almost feels too low, because many people can improve by 10 or 15% in anything just by focusing their attention in that area. If you wanted to, you could find a 15% improvement in your diet, perhaps just by removing certain foods and increasing other foods. You could perhaps improve your diet and your health just by drinking 1 or 2 additional glasses of water per day. So the idea of improving your life by just 1% seems ridiculously small. And yet you continue to entertain the idea of what 1% growth could be like. And let's think of the different areas of your life, not to create a to-do list, but simply to stimulate your unconscious mind to consider the idea of tiny, incremental areas of improvement. And let's start by thinking about your environment, where you live and where you work. What could you do that improves where you live by 1%? That simply may be tidying around your home, organizing your desk, perhaps hiring a cleaner to come in and do a spring clean. I want you to think about what it would mean to improve your environment by just 1%. What could you do to learn something new that you didn't know before by just 1%? Something practical, how to meditate, how to speed read. Perhaps even smaller than that. Just something that you could learn that would improve your life by a tiny margin. What would it mean to like yourself by just 1% more? Because you could look at yourself in the mirror and just notice something about yourself that you like, or that you admire, or that you appreciate, and that would increase your self-image, your self-esteem by probably more than 1%, just by doing that one thing. Or perhaps you could make yourself 1% more productive during the day just by thinking in the morning about what your intentions are to accomplish or achieve that particular day. And I wonder if you can improve the quality of your sleep by just 1%, simply by having a ritual, a routine before you go to bed that will enable you to have longer periods of uninterrupted sleep. And all these different things could improve your life by just 1%. And what could you do to improve your financial situation or your wealth by just 1%? Perhaps you could spend 10 or 15 minutes logging into your online bank account and cancelling a few direct debits or standing orders that you don't use anymore. Or perhaps deciding to cut out certain expenses of things that are not necessary for you and instead saving that money. I want you to think of all the things that you could do financially just to improve by a tiny amount like 1%. What could you do within your career, within your business, within your workplace to become 1% better at what you do? And that might be to be more organized, better prepared, perhaps do a bit more research, or just brainstorm different ideas that you could add more value in where you work or what you do for a living. And all these things are ultra achievable, as your unconscious mind entertains the idea of what you could do to be just a tiny bit better. And while you're listening to my voice is unlocking the very resources within you to enable you to create more change than 1%, so that this 1% goal becomes ultra achievable. We are unlocking the belief that this is achievable and accessible for you to do, because within 24 hours, you might need only a few minutes to make tiny incremental changes in your life to improve these different areas by a tiny amount. What could you do to improve your health or your fitness by just 1%? And that may be altering your diet ever so slightly. It could just be increasing the amount of vegetables, fruits, or salads that you eat in a day. Perhaps drinking just a bit more water. Or perhaps cutting out some of those processed foods that, in all honesty, you don't really like anyway. And what could you do to improve your social life by just 1%? Could you reach out to someone, an old friend that you haven't spoken to in a while? Could you pay someone a compliment, perhaps to create a new connection? What could you do to improve the relationship within your family by just 1%? Offering some encouragement. Noticing when someone does something within your family that you respect, appreciate, or admire. What can you do in your personal relationship to improve the relationship with your partner, or to do something that could create the possibility of a new relationship if you aren't in one by just 1%? What could you do to have more fun in your life by just that tiny 1% level? That could mean just booking some tickets for something, learning a new thing in a class, perhaps arranging something to do in a few days or weeks' time. I want you to think of all these things being just different parts of your life that you have the ability to improve by a tiny amount. Because I want your unconscious mind to consider that if your life improved by just 1% every day, by just 1% every day, over time, you would get 1% improvements on 1% improvements. And the idea of compounding is that it gets easier and easier the longer you do it. Could you be more than 1% mindful every day just by paying attention to those things around you? The smells, the tastes, the people, the conversations, the work that you do. Entertain the idea that by improving by such a small amount over time can create incredible transformations. Because if you were running, even if you could run a tiny bit faster by 1% over a year, your fitness would be completely transformed. If you could improve your diet by just 1% every day, your overall health and well-being would be completely transformed within just 12 months. And what if the goal is not perfection, but tiny amounts of progress consistently over time? I want you to think about the rivers. And as you're in that forest, imagine that there is a river running through the forest. Just imagine that the river wasn't created overnight. This was water eroding soil and sand over thousands and thousands of years to create this river. But all those tiny, tiny changes created a pathway, a river that perhaps runs all the way to the sea. But it is tiny incremental changes over time that creates incredible changes when perceived looking backwards. And I want you to imagine that all these tiny changes that you can make in different areas of your life, you probably wouldn't notice on any given day or week or month. It would only be after a year or two when you look back and the changes feel miraculous, but only when you look backwards. For now, just entertain the idea that you will enjoy the process of tiny, incremental areas of improvement. And I'm communicating now to the part deep within your subconscious mind that strives for growth, evolution, strives to be a better person today than you were yesterday. And that part will buy into this idea of tiny progress over time, creating miraculous transformations, but only when perceived backwards. And I want you to imagine that you're still walking through this forest, and notice that this forest wasn't created in a day or a week. This forest was created over hundreds of years, and each seed in and of itself was meaningless. But all of these seeds that fell from these trees, perhaps decades ago, created the forest that you can imagine walking through right now. Tiny, insignificant things, all clustered together, create something miraculous. And I want you to imagine that this is just a thought within a thought, a dream within a dream. And actually, you are where you are listening to my voice right now. And very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. And you will awaken with a desire, a determination to improve by tiny amounts every day. In all different areas of your life. And it doesn't have to be the same area of your life. Every day you can improve your health and fitness on one day, and perhaps your environment on a different day, and perhaps your confidence and your self-esteem on a different day. But you will awaken with the desire to make tiny incremental areas of improvement consistently over time. You will awaken feeling resourceful and excited about what miracles of transformation will take place in your life. And all of this will only be appreciated in the future when you look back and saw those tiny insignificant things compounding and building over time to create the miracle that you will create. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.